Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to the podcast, Evil Dungeon Master Universe Podcast. I'm your host, Evil Dungeon Master Vince, and we're back with another podcast today. Hopefully you're doing well. It's Thursday. We're getting closer to the weekend and closer to gaming. For me, this weekend, we'll probably be getting ready to play Shadowrun 2nd Edition, so I'm looking forward to that. Making up characters and maybe doing an introductory adventure, hopefully, unless my cold that seems to be coming on gets to me and won't play too long. But anyway, evildm.com is my website. Ask the DM at evildm.com and facebook.com/evilDungeonMasters where you can get a hold of me, the Evil DM on Twitter as well. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about a controversial spell and talk about how it involved one time where it was the worst experience I had as a player, pretty much, in gaming. Now, I've explained some of this story over the years on Roll for Initiative when I did that podcast, but never really went into many details about what happened in the situation. And the situation involves this one particular spell, Charm Monster. Now, if you flip this page 75 in the AD&D 1E Player's Handbook, we get the Charm Monster spell. It is a 4th level spell. So the DM running the game at the time, we'll call him Michael, and he was he's played D&D for many, many years. He was an experienced DM, but he was coming back to the hobby after probably a break for quite some time. So he decided that he was going to run AD&D per rules as written from Gary Gygax, leaving nothing out, which was rather annoying from my sense, but you know what? I'm not running the game. He's the DM. He has the final say, so we just followed his lead. Okay, so now we are playing for quite some time, and he's following the rules as best as he can, which is fine with me and the rest of the party as well. And we have a couple people in the party. We get to about a level that we can use the Charm Monster spell. And he used it, one of the players used it on a monster. I believe it was a wolf, dire wolf. And gained control of the monster because the DM, Michael, I'm using name in quotes, didn't know the spell offhand and didn't want to take the time to actually read the spell. So he just took the player's word for it. Now, let me go over the spell for you. Charm Monster is a 4th level spell. It's got 6-inch range. It's special durations, area effect special. It is a verbal and somatic. 4 segments it takes to cast, so when you're rolling your initiative for the party, you would go 4 segments later in the initiative order. Saving throw negates it. This spell, saving throw versus magic, sorry. This spell is similar to a Charm Person spell, but it will only affect any living creature. Now, several creatures of lesser level, as explained hereafter. Or several, yeah. The magic user casts the Charm Monster spell, and any affected creature regard the spell caster as friendly, an ally, or a companion to be treated well or guarded from harm. If communication is possible, and this is the key point here of the whole thing, the charmed creature will follow reasonable requests, instructions, change the page, or orders most faithful. So it's mostly like the suggestion spell. Affected creatures will eventually come out from under the influence of the spell, and the probability of breaking such a charm monster spell is a function of the creature's level. It's hit dice. So it gives a little chart from first or all the way up to 12 hit dice. Chance of breaking the spell per week. And obviously the lower it is, the lower the chance, the higher it is, and it goes anywhere from 5 all the way up to 90%. Naturally, overtly hostile acts by the person charming the monster will automatically break the spell, or at the very least, the monster a new saving throw versus charm. The spell will affect from 2d4 first level creatures, 1 to 4 second level creatures, or 1 or 2 third level, and 1 creature of 4th level or higher. Another thing I want to talk about, because this spell is a little bit controversial here, but we'll go back to that in a minute. Now, the reasonable request if communication is possible. So now the player who used the spell charmed this direwolf and used it as pretty much like how you would use a pet in an MMO or something. He used it to destroy everything in its path and, pretty much be the guard dog. Go attack him, go kill him, things like that. Problem is, those direwolves don't understand common or any language pretty much. Generally, they're just beasts in the wild that would not understand anything. So the beast would probably, if you were doing it correctly, just protect the spellcaster. So if the spellcaster moved forward, this beast would probably follow him, and maybe he might, over time, get the creature used to commands, much like how you would probably train a dog. But walking away and the creature following, if the magic user got into a fight, this direwolf would protect the magic user more than likely. So there's that. But the way the player was using it, unbeknownst to the DM, who didn't bother looking up the spell or taking a moment because he didn't care, I don't know. He just took the player's word for it. So this creature wrecked the entire adventure that he had planned out because he didn't think that this one creature would be controlled. And, he was rather annoyed. So after the adventure, I guess he looked up the spell himself and then came back the next day with a pre-written statement that he read to everybody. And the pre-written statement was that the players of this group were unfair to him, took advantage of the fact that he didn't know the spell, and it's not his job to know all the spells in the book by heart, and sometimes the DM has to take the word of the player and trust the player. The spell was no longer in his gaming world, as in couldn't use it anymore, it didn't exist, and any and all experience, gold, and items that we had picked up in the last adventure were now null and void. And I remember I'm looking at one of my friends, and we were just like, okay. And then that was pretty much the end of that group, because we all left and broke off for our own group after that, because that was ridiculous. But the controversial part of this spell that I want to talk about is that it says monster, though it does list levels, which means the function of the spell considers bandits, berserkers, and things like that monsters, which I don't consider, as a DM, monsters. But we can take a closer look at this in the DMG, which I love the fact that Gary has spells in the DMG that clarify a little bit more about things, and there's a whole section in page 40-ish around there, depending on what level spell and class and everything. Unlike some other games, they didn't do this back then. But if we flip to page 46, I think it's 46, let's see, page 45, excuse me. Charm Monster. It is needful to point out that this spell does not suddenly empower the caster or his or her associate characters with any special means of communication. So it tells you right there that if this creature cannot speak or communicate or understand, that there is no way that you can communicate for him to do or for it to do anything. If the caster is unable to convey, and it even goes further, to the charmed creature, convey to the charmed creature his or her instructions, then the monster will simply refrain from harming the spellcaster and any others in the area. If any, will still be subject to its attentions, hostile or otherwise. Similar to a charm person spell, if damage is inflicted on the charmee at the same time in that round as the spell cast, then the saving throw made it a +1 for each point of damage inflicted. So, what that last part means that if you are in battle and your magic user is like, well, I'm going to charm this, dire wolf, and obviously people go before him because it's 4 segments. So your, let's just say, ranger pulls out a bow and an arrow, and he hits that creature with 3 points of damage, let's say, and then boom, your spell goes off. The direwolf still gets a saving throw, obviously, but he now gets a bonus of +3. So every point of damage that your party does to this creature in front of the magic user casting the Charm Monster spell will give him a bonus to his saving throw. So that's an interesting thing. Now, obviously, if you go look at the other charm spells, which give you a better idea of how the charm works, that anything abusive or going against a creature's will or anything normally that a creature would not do would not happen. Like, you can't tell a creature to go kill itself. You can't tell a charm monster to walk off the side of a cliff. Anything that would harm itself like that would not be allowed to happen because that's not something they would normally do. Charm Monster isn't a you're my bitch, you're going to do whatever I tell you now type thing. No, Charm Monster just basically means that, hey, you like me and you'll probably do things for me and you don't realize why you like me, just you like me. That's basically all that Charm Monster is that and nothing else. And it's a very controversial spell because a lot of people took it to the point of it's this is my bitch and they're my robot and they're my slave spell. But it's not truly that. Even Charm Person is not that. Even Suggestion spells are not that. It is just the ability to have something like you. Now, some people have used it to get pets in the game, such as you might get yourself a guard dog and then have it charm monster on the guard dog so it extra likes you and extra does commands for you. Maybe you don't need to do that. Some people have done that with horses, so that way that the horse will like the character even more. You don't have to worry about pushing it too hard. Obviously, if you do charm monster on a big monster, it becomes your bodyguard in a sense because it's your friend. And it'll do anything to protect you as long as you don't abuse it. So I just want this spell has kind of been up there in the areas of controversy and how the spell works. You have to read it out and kind of figure it out. Tell me what you think about this spell. Have you had problems with this spell in your group or in your campaigns, or are people pretty much mature about it? I'm curious to hear your questions and comments on this one. With that said, I'm going to head out. Keep it original, keep it old school, and don't forget, no drama, no clickbait, all gaming here on the channel. And things are going well, so we'll see you next time. Good night, everybody.